Welcome to the questions and answer show. This is Chris Schaefer, and that is Jason Rothman. Together, we are the PPC questions and answer guys. We're here to answer your questions that you send in at paidsearchpodcast.com. We have a main show that we do every week that's extensively long with lots of details and talking, and it's always interesting. You can check that out. It comes out every Monday. But today, we're doing the Paid Search Podcast because it is Tuesday. Every Tuesday and Wednesday, we do the Paid Search Podcast. Excuse me. We do the questions and answer show, and this is it. So today's question comes from Amanda from Omaha. She says, "Hey guys, I love your podcast. Just started listening and started a job in paid search at an agency. I have some leeway as a newbie, but I also really need to prove myself metrics-wise." Okay, so basically what she talks about is she started a campaign and she's going to have to give an account for it. She's going to have to report on it after a certain amount of time. And this is a tough position to be in because she's new. She's a bit nervous about how to talk the talk and talk about, how to propose the improvements over time of a campaign. So her question is this: how would you guys present proof of performance data if you had to put a presentation together? So Amanda, I'm going to give my quick 2 cents on this. I've done this many times for big and small companies. It's something I pride myself on because I can look at numbers immediately and just start talking about it. It just makes sense to me. And that's just from practice. So number one, you're going to have to practice and you'll get better and better at it for the presentation and the numbers and seeing things, and it just makes sense. But I'm going to give you layer by layer based on what happens. So these scenarios are based on super successful after 3 to 6 months or really bad, and you need to figure out how to spin it the right way after 3 to 6 months. Okay, so number one, you get lots of conversions. Everything goes well. Perfect. Hooray, throw a party. Basically, you just focus on the number of conversions that have been brought in. You talk about the improvement. You talk about how you've brought in lots of leads, qualified leads. The number has gone up. Very simple, should be a great discussion, but that's what you always point to. If they say, hey, look at the click-through rate, it went down. You say, shut up, Joe, in the corner. You don't even belong here. Go clean the kitchen. What I'm talking about is conversions. You don't let them distract you. Conversions, conversions, conversions. Okay, scenario number 2. Very few conversions. You had a couple, but not really anything to brag about. Okay, so Amanda's new. All right, give me a break. I'm still new. What you focus on is search terms and bounce rate. Talk about the traffic quality. Talk about the fact that people have come to your site and they stick, they stay, they look at pages, they interact with the site. Okay, conversions, yes, but you'll work on them. Come on, Joe. I need some time. Joe is your boss and the kitchen cleaner. So no conversions. Oh crap. I didn't get any conversions. I have no phone call tracking. I have no, there's nothing really to point out for conversions. So I'm left with what? I'm left to focus on slight improvements over time. Okay. This is small victories. This is click-through rate improvements. You've improved the click-through rate. It's gone up. You've learned the right type of ad copy to push. You've improved that. You've added negative keywords to avoid wasted clicks, people looking for jobs, people researching salary, people looking for colleges, all this kind of stuff that could be trickling in. You're stopping the boss's money from being wasted, and you're learning things and you're improving it over time. Small victories over time. Finally, very little progress made. You're still learning. It's new to you. And you don't really have a whole lot of positive metrics that are trending up over 3 to 6 months. Here's what you do. Focus on the fact that you're learning things. You're learning that people react more strongly to a free proposal as opposed to a free white paper. They click more often. You've learned that people tend to search for this keyword more than another keyword. You've learned that the majority of people that are searching for this are males within this age range. These are metrics that no matter what money you spend on Google, you always get data, and that's valuable. That's always valuable, and it's worth it because you can make decisions about other things in the future. So that's from best to worst scenario. Jason, what do you think about Amanda's situation?
Furious, dude. I can't stand when these. Obviously, you can tell I wasn't a good employee. Chris, what I would say is, why don't you guys go have your little meeting? I'm not going to waste my time doing this presentation. I'm going to spend my time making your account better, actually working on the account. Obviously, okay, you can't say that. But my point is that, Chris, these year-over-year comparisons and stuff like that, they're so messed up when it comes to Google AdWords because there's so many different factors that play a role. The website could have changed over that time. The market could have changed. Someone could come in and be bidding up like crazy. They could have not had conversion tracking in or lost it for a while or tracking different conversions. There's just so many things. So my only things to add to this, because I think you did a great job of laying over every situation that could come up and how to make a move from there, is one, have your excuses in place already. Write down the data from previous, from when you started, and figure out what's wrong, like what could change. So if they're not, if get screenshots of the way the website looks, because people change it over time. Figure out if they're tracking all leads. Figure out if they're doing something stupid with their conversions to make them look better than they are, like tracking all phone calls instead of just one, or tracking phone calls that last longer than 1 second as opposed to at least 60 seconds. Have your data backed up so you can make the case if your data gets worse over time, which it very well could if you don't know what you're looking at. Another example of that, your cost per click might go up 400% in the time you manage the account. Because when you came onto the account, they had horrible search terms that weren't producing anything. And you're getting very great conversion producing search terms, but they cost more because they're more valuable. So if you're going to stand up there and see your cost per click go up 400%, know why that happened and be able to shut down some idiot who says, well, why is our cost per click up? So just know what happened, know the situation you're in, and know how that's going to affect things going forward. And then finally, very, very often, this happens to us. AdWords accounts are in like pretty good shape. They're like a 8 out of 10. And Chris and I come in there and make them 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10s. We just make them a little bit better. So you very well could walk into a lot of situations where little progress is made over a long time because all you're doing is maintaining great results. And that's not a small thing to do. That's just sometimes what it takes. You just have to maintain great results. So Chris gave you great advice there on talk about the knowledge you've gained and different things you can give them in terms of gender and copy on the landing page and all that kind of stuff. One other thing I would say, if you've made little progress because all you can do, because it was already in good shape, is maintain great performance, change the conversation into how you can get more. So if they were getting great results, if you've maintained those great results, change the conversation into, we're getting great results. These are extremely profitable. Here's how you can get more. Remarketing, trying out broad keywords, expanding your geography, expanding the times your ads run in, that sort of thing. So Chris, I always like changing the conversation to how we can get more, especially if things are going well. So I think, Amanda, this should give you a ton of information on how to go about those presentations. And everyone's going to be different because you're always going to be going from a certain situation to a different situation. So it's good to have different ways to go about it. So we hope we answered your question as well as possible. I think we did. If you listening out there have your Google Ads question and you want to answer, go to paidsearchpodcast.com, send us your question on the contact page. We will answer it. We will be back every Tuesday and every Wednesday with another episode of the PPC Questions and Answers Show. All right, Chris, you ready for the next one?
Yeah. YouTube, just so you know, we record this in one long stream. You get to see them early ahead of everyone else. So you guys are special.
Yeah, you guys get to see behind the scenes how we don't have a relationship. We don't talk to each other behind the scenes anymore. It's all for the camera. And we've had a fallout, but we each make a lot of money off the show, and we got to keep it going.
No, Jason's gotten so busy. He said, we need to streamline this because I have 400 clients that need to talk to me tomorrow. That's what it is.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the PPC Questions and Answers. See, this is great with audio, Chris. with video. I can just restart it with one stream. So hey, okay, you done? Thank you. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the PPC Questions and Answers show. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by a co-host that I just love, the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, how's it going today?
Oh,
thank you. Today's question comes from Thomas from Chicago. Big Thomas from Chicago. He writes in, well, I don't know if it's a he or a she, Chris. You don't know. So
we screwed
Thomas,
up with
I don't know the
Angel
name Thomas.
Ty. Angel Ty we thought was a guy, but was a girl. So we never know.
Yeah, but they took that well. They weren't that mad. So, but I'm gonna bet Thomas, Big Thomas, is a guy from Chicago. Oh boy. Okay, I like to think I kind of know what I'm doing these days. I've been doing it long enough, and I love a good A/B test as much as the next man. But I have reservations about Google's recent quote unquote 3 ads per ad group recommendation. I'm sure it makes sense if you have the volume, but when an account is only getting a few hundred impressions, let alone clicks per month, surely we're just diluting the data set and requiring longer to get any meaningful results upon which to base any future decisions. So Chris, I have been getting this from Google as well. They've been reaching out directly to me. Jason, we need you to put in 3 to 7 ads in every ad group. We need you to make that happen. Chris, I'm sure you're getting this as well. What's your take?
Well, Jason, you didn't read the one part about what Thomas had said that bothered me. I'll just briefly say that what he said is that it's highlighted in green, Jason. I try and make it as easy as I can. But anyway, he said that
we should really talk off the air.
We should play on this a bit more. So he said that he was afraid that Google is now penalizing accounts which weren't running 3 ads.
Great point. Yeah, that's important to add to the question.
So here's I want to address that. I want to address specifically. I think there's 2 things here that I want to address. One is that Google penalizes. I don't like the way that sounds. Penalizes ads or accounts for not having enough ads. I do not want people to think that that they always have to abide by a specific editorial standard. I think editorial is the wrong word. Specific numbers standard. You need to have this many keywords. You need to have this many ads. You need to have this many ad groups. You need to have 14 campaigns in order to be successful. That's absolutely not true. I have campaigns that are ridiculously stupid the way they're set up, but they work. They have horrible quality scores. They have just warnings everywhere. This is crap. This is crap. This isn't doing good. Google wants to help here. Hey, let me fix this for you. Let me fix this. No, don't touch it. It works. It generates conversions. So I want to downplay that Google penalizes. Google may not give you full quality score standards on certain things, but I do not think that Google penalizes people. You might have, basically, just to be clear, what penalizing would be was essentially you'd have to pay more per click. So that's, it's not like they're just.
If they don't give you as much quality score as you could get if you added 3 to 7. That is, you could look at it as a penalty.
But it's not really a penalty. That's just the way the formula works. So I wouldn't say it's a penalty as much as you just have to pay more. It's not like they're going to, oh, sorry, we're not going to show your ad just because you're not following the rules. That's not the case. So I just wanted to address that, Thomas. Do not worry about being, shut out of ads because you're not following these rules. But Jason, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this whole 3 to 7 thing, because it's not something I really abide by myself.
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, you and I have always talked about, oh, you need 2 ads and you can split test the ads and continually test and all that kind of stuff. But I have been getting this from people at Google lately, really pushing 3 to 7 ads per ad group. And it just happened recently, like when Thomas he kind of says that he's getting it recently as well. So maybe there's articles about this out there or something, but because it's come on so strong lately and because it's a new thing for them to push that, at least this hard, I do think something happened, and they're trying to give us kind of a strong hint that, like, hey, this is going to play a role with quality score or something. And I've just been doing it. Like I've just been doing it. So to me, now that I'm no longer a scagger among other massive mistakes that I've made in my life, and I've repented. Adding ads is not that big a problem because I don't have as many ad groups. So I just throw them in there, 3 to 7. And the way I think they're doing it is they're kind of like you have different keywords. We're knowing more and more about users. So maybe this user for that keyword likes this ad. Maybe only a very, very small amount of users for that keyword like the other ad, and they just like seeing some options in there. So I'm all about that. So I've just been doing it, and I've been kind of looking at it like, okay, even if an account is low data, that means I'm not even getting that much data on 2 ads. So why not just throw in a 3rd ad and make them happy? So I've been doing it.
I think what Google's always dealing with, Google is that, believe it or not, Google's really a data company. I mean, that's what they do. That's what search engine is all about, gathering data and presenting it. And I think Google likes numbers. And if they don't have enough ads to rotate, enough tests to do, they can't get strategic about which ads are going to show. So they need more. They need more to work with. And I think that's probably what comes down to. They want as much as they can in order to continually test and get the best results for you. So I think that's the case. But all right. So thanks for listening. You can catch us on the Paid Search Podcast, our main show, which comes out every Monday, where we talk extensively about all kinds of topics. And you can catch us on Tuesdays and Wednesdays on the PPC Questions and Answers show. Thanks for listening. I'm Chris. That's Jason. Have a nice day.
All right. Chris, how's your week going? Don't care. I don't care.
Don't care. It's don't ask me how I'm doing if you don't
Chris,
really care.
Do you know anybody who would make a great co-host on the Paid Search Podcast? If you find someone,
I've been texting what is she? She's just a girlfriend. You haven't really made a commitment, but we've been chatting, and she seems like she would like to talk with me on the show a lot.
Passive aggressive. All right. Hey, everybody. Yeah. Welcome back to the PPC Questions and Answers show. My name is Jason Hoffman. As always, I'm joined by the mediocre to average Chris Schaefer. This is the spinoff show, the Paid Search Podcast. On this show, the PPC Questions and Answers, you guys send us your questions at paidsearchpodcast.com. We answer them, and then these episodes come out on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and we appreciate you guys reviewing them and leaving ratings in iTunes. Those help out a ton. So today's question comes from the great big Rob from Queensland, Australia.
Rob. I think he holds the record for the most questions sent and most questions answered on the show. Pretty special guy.
Rob is the man. So Rob writes in, he goes, could you explain the recent changes to the Google Ads conversion codes, replacing the legacy code, and how to make sure? I guess that's Australian for something.
Okay. That's Australian. That's Australian, yeah.
Rob's from Australia. So excuse me, everybody. I'm sorry.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yes.
Don't read it.
Chris, don't do it. Yeah, Chris, don't do it. I like when they impersonate Americans. Chris, don't do it. Hey, everybody. Rob from Queensland writes in, could you explain the recent changes to the Google Ads conversion codes, replacing the legacy code? Here comes the Aussie in me. And what the how to make sure it is in place on your website, and the impact if it is not done.
That was great. Thank you for the question, Rob and Jason.
Chris, the way to do an Australian accent, and I can't. I know I can do better, but I didn't practice. But the way you do it, Chris, is every sentence you say, you just stretch out your A's. Every sentence you say, you just stretch out your A's. And the other thing you need to do is every sentence you say has a half a question mark after it. It's like every word they say, every sentence they say, it ends in half a question. Like, what are we doing on this island? We were British, and now we're in Australia. So, Chris, let's get to the point.
Great.
Um,
Okay.
Let's get to the point here.
We've
all got
question. What was the question? Okay.
What was the question? Every sentence is half a question, Chris. So you get to the point here, doing the American accent. We've all seen the emails that Google's been kind enough to like email some of our clients sporadically, but not email us. And we're like, what is going on? But there's something going on with Safari at the end of September called Intelligent Tracking Prevention 2.0. Doesn't sound good for conversion tracking. At that time, some or all of the conversion tags that you currently using on your site will be unable to measure conversions on Safari. So basically, Chris, Safari is updating. The old conversion codes are not going to work so much, so you need to add these new conversion codes. And Rob wants to know, how are you going about this, Chris? Are you doing it?
Yeah.
And I'm scared, but I think you kind of put me at ease. Yeah, you put me at ease before the show. So why don't you tell us all about that?
Yeah. So a couple things. Number one, the emails that I've seen, the documentation that I've seen shows no expiration date. Okay. For the old legacy conversion tracking. Okay. Which is huge. I've been waiting for that email to drop because that will send me into panic mode. Because every client that I have has, just about has that old legacy conversion tracking code, which is going to be a huge hassle to update all of those, for each client that has conversion tracking.
Thanks for the email, Chris. Chris, thanks for the email. Do you know the login to my website?
Oh gosh, yeah, exactly.
You're going to be getting a lot of those.
I mean, that's like
your website.
Like
I've never logged into this. Your website. What the hell are you talking about?
Could you? Yeah, it's like terrifying to think if that happens. So let's get real. So first of all, there is no deadline. We have not been given an expiration date. Okay, so that's good. Number two is this is Safari only. Google is not sunsetting their old conversion tracking. This is Safari only. So just to put a sanity check on things, Safari represents, globally, Safari represents about 15% of internet traffic, like 86%.
15% or 14%. 15. What do you bring to the show, Chris? 14%, 15% of the value.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. It's whatever you bring
which
to the
is
show.
all the looks. All the looks, and then the knowledge is somewhere else.
Those are kind of fading fast,
Yeah, it does. But the fact is, it's a small percentage of the amount of traffic that people are getting. People, a minority of people that use browsers use Safari. And number two is they have to update to the new Safari engine for this to happen. So this is even a fraction of a fraction. So this is small. This is nothing to get super concerned about at the beginning. It only means you're not going to get a click and now you can't get a conversion. Basically, it just means you could get a conversion. Somebody could call you or fill out your form or something, and you just don't track it in AdWords. If they, for instance, were to use a mobile device to go to your site, click on your ad, go to your site, and then use their desktop then to make the purchase or fill out your form, you would not get that conversion tracking, because what's happening is Safari is breaking that bridge between devices. That universal tracking is no longer gonna be the case. So just to share and keep everybody's panic hats over on the side. It's okay. We don't have to panic too much, but you will start wanting to update your code. Jason, have you updated any of the codes? Have you tested any of this yet?
No, I'm still in the denial phase.
I figured, because it's terrifying. I've done several updates with clients that were, redoing their site, and you can't. I just decided I'm going to send them the new thing. So, Rob, to briefly go through what the whole new conversion thing is, there's two parts to conversion code tracking now. There's the universal tag, which you have to install separately, and then you have to put a tracking snippet which references the initial tag And if you already have analytics on there, you need to add your G tag to your universal tag. So it's just another line of code. And then your event snippet is somewhere different. So if it's a page load, you have to put it on that page, which references the.
Please stop. You're giving me heartburn. I do this show to have fun. You're giving me heartburn.
Super simple. It's super simple.
Yeah.
You'll love
Chris,
it.
by the way, yes, Safari's 15% of the market for browsers worldwide, but in the US, I'm seeing 31%. So it's a bigger deal than you should have gone into politics because you sure know how to spin.
I do.
But Chris, I guess what we're saying is at the worst case scenario is all your Safari users will update to the new Safari instantly, and then you'll lose 30% of your conversions. That's the worst case scenario, right? That's the worst case. You're going to lose only 30%. So it's not the end of the world. Like it's only 30%. So that's the worst case scenario.
Just you're not losing leads. You're not losing phone calls. You're not losing anything. You're not losing what you're paying for. You're only reported information. You're only losing the ability to track those people. So
basically,
panic hats off.
Yeah, that's the worst case scenario. Is once people update to new Safari, you're not going to be able to track those conversions. You'll still get them, but you can't track them unless you basically follow Google's instructions. So that's all we can say is just follow the instructions, get the new codes on there, and go at it. But in the worst case scenario, you'll only be losing 31% of your reported conversions, and not everyone's going to update on day one. And we'll see what happens. But basically, just follow Google's instructions, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, but I feel more at ease, Chris, because I was really scared, and now it's like, okay, worst case scenario, 30% are reportable. Well, we still want to make this update and get things done, but in the event that a client doesn't have a login to their website, which happens quite frequently, we're only going to lose 30% of our reportable. So,
what's my DreamHost login? Could you send that to me? Gosh.
I get it all the time, Chris. I get it all the time.
I do too.
I just had it yesterday. Please tell me the login that I have access with to the AdWords account. And then I send them that email address. And then the next email I get back is, what's
my password?
What are you talking about? What's your password? But,
I don't know what your password is. Give me your social security number and I'll give you your password. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah. But
all right. Well, Chris, for I don't know what happened in the show, but for multiple weeks in a row, the endings of this show specifically were just horrible.
Drag on.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened. So I'm really priding both of us on giving those nice cookie cutter endings to the show. So everyone, thank you for listening to the PPC Questions and Answers show. We appreciate you guys sharing the show. You can leave us a review and rating on iTunes. That helps a ton. If you have a Google Ads question that you want answered, paidsearchpodcast.com, go to the contact page, send us a question, and we'll answer it every Tuesday, every Wednesday here on the PPC Questions and Answers show.